How about that cigar?
Oh, how about that cigar?
Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, as you know it, as you love it, our favorite night of the week. Welcome to episode number 63 of How About That Cigar Live. We are coming to you, as always, live from Minnesota, from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios. And Drew Estate wants to announce the launch of the latest addition to the Deadwood lineup, Leather Rose, to all retailers nationwide. Uniting with her sisters, Sweet Jane, Fat Bottom Betty, and Crazy Alice, the spicy Leather Rose is the boldest lady of the bunch. This 5x54 torpedo features a rich Maduro wrapper and proves to be the spiciest of the Deadwood family. Lighting up the Leather Rose will fill your room with her exotic aroma, plus the effortless draw will leave you longing for more. The Deadwood Leather Rose is a 5x54 torpedo packaged in 24-count boxes and will be shipping in July. For more info, please visit drewestate.com. So, guys, episode 63, middle of June, late June. We are loving the weather. We are loving stuff going on out there. It's really cool because, you know, even after all this COVID stuff, you guys know, all of our viewers and listeners, you know what's been going on. Fortunately, there are some areas that are starting to open up. There are some, you know, places we can go. Hopefully you guys have been doing like we've been harping on for the last few months, which is getting out there and supporting your local brick and mortar cigar shops. That's really important that we get out there and support them. So, you know, call ahead, find your local brick and mortars, find out what their policies are, go in, pick up some cigars. If their lounge is open, take advantage of that, you know, get back in the groove of being in the lounge and smoking together with your friends and your family. And just get out there and support. And honestly, not even just local cigar businesses, you know, restaurants, shops, you know, things like that. We want to support those local businesses because they're really the ones that in the end are going to get hit hardest by this. So, you know, we want to keep those businesses going.
And if local business and small business starts to collapse, communities collapse.
Yeah.
And we gotta get in there and support where we can.
Yeah. So there's, you know, there are a few things actually going on. I've seen some people who, our buddy Andrew, who's written some articles for howaboutthatcigar.com, you know, he travels, his job is traveling for work, and he was grounded for, you know, 3 months, and he's finally back. Pardon my opening this can here. He's finally back, you know, in an airplane, going back out there on the road working again. And, you know, for a lot of you guys who have, you know, made your living from traveling, maybe you've been shut down a little bit. So, you know, hopefully you're getting back in the airports again, getting out there and working. Like we said, there are some, you know, some things that we want to pay attention to out there in the business world. And one of those things is definitely supporting those local businesses. And also there are a few little glimmers of live sports here and there. And I've found myself actually going on YouTube and watching old baseball games. There's a lot of major league teams actually have been replaying old classic games. The Twins played a lot of old World Series stuff, and some other teams have been replaying that. So if you need your sports fix, just hit up your favorite team on their YouTube or on their Facebook page, and a lot of them are actually replaying classic games.
Well, and there's, you know, and it's so funny because all of these weird, obscure sports are making its way to either YouTube or a lot of different social media people are posting stuff. Like there's this, there's curling, and then there's the Scottish game hurling.
Oh, is that with the big telephone pole where they chuck it along with, or is that not it?
No, it's like a cross between lacrosse and soccer and murder. Because it is so fast, the ball is hard, and they have these wooden sticks that are like axes. And you guys do, if you're into YouTube rabbit holes, look up hurling, and that
sounds fun.
It is amazing.
Well, and it's this. I was thinking of caber toss when you said,
"Oh yeah,
that's where they have this big long. It's like a telephone pole, and they chuck the thing like forever."
Right.
So yeah, check out the Scottish the Scottish games.
Yeah, absolutely.
on YouTube.
And we want to also, if you've been watching the news at all, Mexico had 7.4. I almost said tornado, earthquake that hit Oaxaca today. And while the death toll is, thankfully their early detection system got people, to safety in time, but communities are destroyed in the wake of this earthquake. So let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, before we bring on our special guest this evening, guys, take just a moment, if you would, share us out to your favorite Facebook cigar groups. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. You can share it out directly from YouTube as well. And now I'd like to bring in our special guest. And as always, guys, our special guest segment is brought to you by Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com. They are the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. At Corona Cigar Company, they take pride in being cigar fanatics just like you and me. And you'll also find unique and limited cigars containing Florida sun-grown tobacco. As a proud American, president and founder of Corona Cigar Company, Jeff Borshowitz believed it was possible to bring cigar tobacco farming back to Florida. At Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com, you'll find the best selection anywhere in the world of cigars containing this special Florida sun-grown tobacco. For more information on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. So, welcome, please, to episode number 63 of How About That Cigar Live. Our special guest from Global Premium Cigars, Enrique Sanchez. Welcome to the show, brother.
Welcome.
Hey, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me back in the show. I'm really honored.
Oh,
I hope
absolutely.
everybody's doing well today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Minnesota. We had a rainstorm, but it's been a beautiful week. We're loving life. And tell everybody before we get going into some questions, Enrique, tell us where you're broadcasting from and what you're smoking with us tonight.
Well, right now I am in Miami, Florida. You was talking about Florida. There you go. We are here in the Sunshine State. And actually today was a little bit brutal because it was almost in the 90s. And if you can imagine, it was a 91-degree temperature and almost 100% humidity. It's a tough one to actually enjoy cigars. But either in this or go inside the house, in which you're not allowed to smoke cigars. And I have my kids messing around. So it's well, here we are. So we are based here in Miami, Florida. And of course, you know very well, I'm from Nicaragua. One of the great cigars are being manufactured today.
Absolutely. And what are you smoking?
Oh, yeah, forgot about that one. Right now, I'm actually smoking a 1502 Ruby Lancero.
Oh, the Ruby.
You know, Lancero always been my favorite Vitola. So that's for me, it was a perfect fit tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, Garrett is an absolute Lancero lover, as I am as well. But yeah, it's a great Vitola. So Garrett, tell us about what you snagged for us to smoke on the show today.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Omar at Ramsey Cigar Shop in Ramsey, Minnesota. They are the local shop that carries 1502. To my knowledge, I think they're the only ones that carry 1502. And I picked up a couple of 1502 XOs. And Matt and I are smoking the Churchill Vitola.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And Garrett, tell our listeners and viewers
right there.
When we first took these out of the cello before we lit them up, they are very pronounced with aroma even before lighting.
So as soon as I smelled it, it was like a chocolate bar. It was nothing but chocolate. None of the, that barnyard or real tobacco, even the cold draw. If you're not familiar with a cold draw, right after you cut it and you check the resistance, if, it's going to be a tight draw or loose draw, try and pay attention to those flavors, because even that cold draw was chocolatey. And that's just, before you light, that's just something that I like to enjoy. Haven't smoked enough yet to really get any flavors. A lot of times those flavors are completely different, but I mean, just right off outside of the cello, this is going to be fun.
Well, I definitely want to talk more about the XO as the night goes on, but Enrique, I'd like for you, one of the things that we want our listeners and viewers to be able to understand is to sort of get a picture of your background in premium cigars. And part of that is you giving us an idea of the kind of paint us a picture of that first time that you sat down and fired up a premium hand-rolled cigar and what that was like for you.
Well, Matt, I mean, look at my background. You know, it's my grandfather was from Cuba. He was in the tobacco field, of course, and then my grandfather also as well became with the tobacco in Cuba. And then no, I'm just kidding. I mean, it has nothing to do with Cuba. I was born and raised in Nicaragua. My family been living in Nicaragua for over 200 years, so I didn't just become tobacco. It's we've been there almost from the since everything got started in the year 2002. Remember that. So yes, the background. I've been in different type of business, even from banking, hotels, real estate, all over. And along the time, I always enjoy cigars. So one time I had a chance, and actually was the one that pushed me to the industry. He probably saw something in me that I didn't see before. And you know what? I do thank him very much for all the help he gave me from the beginning to today. I mean, 1502 Cigars are being manufactured in Placentis factory, there's no doubt. And that's how we get started. So that's when everything is, even a slogan said, proudly Nicaragua. We're born and raised in Nicaragua. Our cigars being manufactured in Nicaragua, and we are very proud to be supporting our Nicaraguan people the best we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit also about the origins, and this is a story that I have been fortunate to hear before, but I think it's a great story that our viewers and listeners could definitely learn a lot from. The name 1502 Cigars is extremely important. So 1502, tell us about that origin story and why that year is important.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, when we started with the blends in the beginning, we came up with we got three selections. We came up with the blended selection, in which the 80-90% is Nicaraguan tobacco. So we did 15 Emerald, Ruby, and Black Gold, breakfast and lunch and dinner, as we like to call it. But once we came with the blends, and they were amazing, a great name had to be into it as well. And what a better name that a year that in Nicaragua, year 1502. It was Christopher Columbus and fourth last trip to America. He was sailing in the Caribbean Sea, a big storm about to sink, and he saw this piece of land, and he tried to get the closest he can to the piece of land. And when he gets there, sunshine, the sun comes out. So he gets in his knee and started thanking God for extra time he got in this wonderful world he just discovered. He named that piece of land Cabo Gracias a Dios. Thank God Key. And today it's a borderline from Honduras and Nicaragua, and that happens in the year 1502. Even before it was called Nicaragua, that was in year 1502 was the first time Nicaragua was put at a point of reference for the old world to discover it. So that was something very amazing.
Love it. I love the history of of cigars and origins. Enrique, what I would like to know is, where did your family's cigar work in the cigar industry really begin?
I didn't quite get the last one. Sorry, can you repeat it?
No, yeah. Who in your family was first to get into the cigar business? Because Nicaragua was a little bit later to much of the, when people jumped from Cuba to, a lot of them went to Dominican, some people went to Honduras. For you and your family, what did that look like early on?
Still, there's something missing with the sound. When my family got started in the industry, that's what you asked me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm the first one in the family to jump to this industry. I mean, I've always been known my family to be the crazy one, so I guess they're right in a way. So it's not that I know, none of my family before were into tobacco, not even cigars as it is. It's do some plantation years back then. But as a cigar brand itself, as a premium cigar brand, I'm the first one of my generation. And hopefully, I will be have 3 kids after me, and hopefully at least one follow up the footsteps. That I will be very honored for that.
Do you happen to remember the first time you sat down with a premium cigar? Do you happen to even remember what it was that you lit up?
That story, it's a very embarrassing story in a way, because I was backpacking in Europe, and I was actually in Spain, in Madrid, at the train station in Madrid, ready to catch a train to go to Toledo. I remember that one. And I was in high school at the time, so I was in backpacking for my summer. Was a cousin of a friend of mine. I was smoking cigarettes in that time, and I'm very proud of that one. But I was sitting down in the train station, and I see all the gentlemen passing by with the cigars, and I'm like, I'm here in Europe, why not? Let me try. So I go to the tobacco place in near the train station, and ask for the cheapest cigar they have in the house. Okay, now you have to remember, I'm in a school budget. So either I buy the cheap cigar or I have lunch the next day. So I got the cheapest cigar, went back to my seat in the train station. In that time, you're allowed to smoke in the station, even the trains. And so I was trying to lit my cigar, and it was terrible. I mean, you couldn't even enjoy it. And after like maybe half an hour of trying to work it out, and I said, this is not for me. I threw it away. So it was like a year after when I was in my house in Managua, and one of my uncles, Uncle Jose Loy, comes in with a Romeo Julieta Churchill from Cuba, and I'm like, you know what? Let me give it a second chance. So he told me, how to cut it, how to light it. I'm sorry, how to what? He's like, how to cut it. I'm like, oh, maybe that was the problem I had in Spain. So after that. Like I said, it was a very versatile story. I mean, it happens, and I'm sure that happens to many other newbies out there in which they experience that, and it never been told. And for that point, I tried the best to be learned how I educate myself, educate my palate. It's very important for me how to do things better, and better. So the first cigar that I actually smoked was a Romeo Julieta Churchill from Cuba. That was back in Managua, Nicaragua.
That's a great story, and it's honestly, you're not wrong when you say a lot of people probably have that same experience the first time. Maybe they buy a cigar and without talking to a salesperson, or they don't know any better, and they try to smoke a cigar and it won't draw because you don't cut the cigar. And I guarantee there's got to be plenty of people every year who try their first premium cigar and think that they hate it because they can't get any smoke out of it.
The best story that I've seen about that one is a young gentleman working in a cigar lounge. I'm not gonna say where, and he buys his cigar. Everybody he's a rookie, and he comes sit down. He's trying to figure it out, and he comes and he does figure it out that he had to cut it. I guess he was a little bit smarter than me, so he goes, cut it in one end, and put the cigar back in the other end in their mouths and try to lit it. So we were like, okay, no, stop it. So that's not how it goes. It goes backwards.
Well, and for full transparency, I would like to admit that that doesn't just happen to new smokers, because last week on our show,
live here on the show,
on the show, and I went back and watched it, and I am such an idiot. We're already talking to the guest. I'm excited about the cigar we're about to smoke. I'm sitting here toasting it. And then I go to draw on it and I realize I haven't cut it yet. And so I did one of the under the table. And I know that there are those, the Cuban way is the 3 match before you cut. So you hit it with 3 matches, cut, and then it should draw. But that was not my intention at all. It was.
He just forgot to cut it.
I just forgot.
You know what? Craig, it happens because I do all the time the Cuban way because I was experienced. I was told by Cubans that how to enjoy a cigar at the beginning, and to today I do that. I always light my cigar, not burn, light my cigar, and then I cut. And you see a big difference when you do that because when you cut a cigar at first and then you light it, there's always a smoke that escapes from the top, and that influences you first. But when you take the patience and you have the time and you can lit it well, and then you cut and then you do the first draw, you feel a lot more flavors to it in the cigar. So I would recommend that you next time with no accident you do that.
I'd like to do that back to back, with cigars and test that out. And I know I've done that with cedar spills too, to see if lighting with a lighter or matches versus a cedar spill to see if I can pick up on it.
Yeah.
I really don't, for the cedar spill, or at least I haven't found a cigar that takes on any of that cedar flavor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Enrique, you can probably talk about this too. I think part of it is maybe a mental thing. If you light a cigar with a piece of cedar.
No. Yeah. I do. It would feel a good friend of mine. He makes them as well, and I try to do them the most frequent that I can. The point is that you're not going to get the flavor of the wood in the cigar. Is that there's no influence whatsoever in that fire that you use it. There's no chemicals. There's nothing there. So you're lighting the cigar perfectly as it should be. Compared to a bottle gas and a lighter, in which sometimes it does have a little bit of that the aroma of the not aroma, the flavor of the butane. So with the cedar spill, it does protect the cigar for you to enjoy it better. Now it's not gonna add nothing to it, and that's the point. Nothing to be added to it. It's to take away everything else, so the cigar itself is perfect for you to enjoy.
Yeah. So tell us about, you mentioned a little bit ago, and this is something I've always loved about your core line is the way that you laid it out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I think that's a great way to think about it. And it's also, something that a lot of cigar smokers, especially if they're maybe newer, not brand new to cigars, but if they're still learning about what they like and what they like to smoke during different times of the day, the way that you lay out the breakfast, lunch, and dinner thing, I think is really important because, you can smoke that emerald in the morning, and then tell us about that progression, between the breakfast, lunch, and dinner cigars and what brought that about.
Sure. Look, my portfolio is well developed. Let's say, for example, a Scotch. When you go to a spirit store, you want to go get a Scotch. You have the option. You got the blended Scotch. You got the single malt, as well. You got the something very rare Scotch. So our portfolio in 1502 cigars is developed that way as well. You get the blending selection, which is 1502 Emerald, Ruby, and Black Gold, and I'm sure those are the ones you were referring to it. That when you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But those are 80-90% Nicaraguan tobacco in it. There's something else to give the perfect touch in that aspect. And then, of course, you got our Nicaraguan selection, and with a pure Nicaraguans, like a single malt. And then you have 1502 Nicaragua, and then you have 1502 Blue Sapphire there in that category. And then, of course, the one you actually enjoy right now, and which is our masterpiece, it's the 1502 XO. Now, in the blending selection, I remember when I came out with the blend selection as well, all three blends. People told, "Wait a second, you're not Cuban. You don't come from a tobacco background whatsoever. Out of nowhere, you come out with three different blends. Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Well, I like variety. I like to have my breakfast cigar, which is 1502 Emerald. I love to have my after lunch cigar, if it's 1502 Ruby, and after dinner cigar, which is 1502 Black Gold." It all depends what do you feel in the mood for. Sometimes you can shift things around. I like to start my morning with something a little more less strong, less strong, but with a flavor characteristic, in which is part of the signature. And doesn't matter what line you pick up from 15 cigars, you're always going to feel that. That's part of our specialty. So that was the concept on the beginning. So you have three different part of the day, three different types. And besides, not everybody like to smoke full body. Not everybody like to smoke a mild cigar. So you always have something there to choose from. It's really hard not to find something that you will be very pleased with it. in
Yeah.
the beginning. And if you like something pure Nicaraguan, you have two other beautiful options. You have 52 Nicaraguan, which you have tobacco for all the 4 regions that we grow tobacco in Nicaragua. You get Jalapa, Condega, Estelí, and Ometepe all in one blend. And none of the region actually stands out. It's Nicaragua as one. That's one of the most beautiful things, or the most complex blends that we have after the XO, of course. And then, of course, 51 Nicaragua, Blue Sapphire, it definitely does not have Ometepe, it have the other 3 regions, but it's a little more bold, a little bit more a character in the flavor, of course. Even people told me, you know what? Hey, the Blue Sapphire, the blueberry one. I'm like, what do you mean the blueberry one? It's like, you taste it in the first aroma you taste, it tastes like blueberries. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, and when you start hearing that from many other people at the same time in different states and different places, and like, whoa, wait a second. And somebody told me, look, when you get a box of fresh blueberries and you open it, that aroma, the freshness, it's just about the same aroma you get from the first puff in the 1502 Blue Sapphire. And I'm like, okay, that's, for me, it tastes like more like a Jalapa, Estelí, and Condega combined as one. But, it's everybody has the palate different in the aspect. And they always ask me, so how do you get the blueberries in the Blue Sapphire? I always make that joke. Well, of course. In Nicaragua, we got blueberries in every corner. We don't even know what colors are blueberries in Nicaragua.
So, Enrique, how involved in the blending process are you? Do you have a blender that you say, this is the kind of flavor that I want? Or when you're developing a new cigar, how involved in that blending process do you get?
It's very interesting because I do not have a process. Indeed, it is. The other day, somebody asked me, how do you get the flavors? And the first one was very simple. So I don't look for the flavors when I'm blending a cigar. That's for me. It's the last part of it. That's most of the time the flavors find you. You don't find the flavors when you try to experience as it goes. So when I'm there and sitting down and working my head and see what can work better. What I'm not thinking about. Oh, this is going to taste like this. It's going to taste the other way around. I just think of how what tobacco itself can go together better, and how can we make it even better in a way. So that's for me is everything. It starts with a concept, and that's for me is very important. Like I told you, Emerald, Ruby, Black Gold. There you go, 3 concepts: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then in the 1502 Nicaragua, that concept from the beginning, it was when my wife told me she was pregnant for my youngest one, the Fernando. So I was born in Nicaragua, my wife was born in Nicaragua, and my kid was born here in the United States. So I want to create a cigar that screens Nicaragua, and so for him, never forget his roots. And that's why I said it has to be all 4 regions of Nicaragua combined as one, and no other region stands out. Now, balance it and look for that experience is the biggest thrill in this adventure. I mean, even the XO in which you're enjoying, I knew what I'm looking for, but I could not taste it, I cannot see it, I cannot smell it. But when you find it, you're like, oh, that's the one, exactly. Of course, that took me over almost 4 years or over 3 years in the process of getting to the right blend, with a limitation of 18-year-old tobacco, and out of the 5 tobacco we use in that blend, 4 are 18-year-old tobacco, and different ones. It's not like there's the same 18-year-old tobacco. No. There's 4 different 18-year-old tobacco in that one. So it's really hard. That's why I say, okay, I want to create something beautiful. That thing is not there, and let me see how it goes with aged tobacco. And that's when you start working with those limitations. So like I said, everything start with a concept. Flavor, they will find you later on in the aspect. Or they even tell you, you know what, don't even think about releasing the cigar because that's not worth it. But that's when you find it in the end. But start with a concept.
That's a great way to put it. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody put it that way before. And I like the way you phrase it. It's, you don't find the flavors find you. And I really like that a lot, because every smoker's palate is different, and every smoker is going to smell different aromas. I mean, you'll definitely, with experienced smokers, you'll get a lot of people who say similar things, but I really like that the flavors
Mm-hmm.
find you. I think that's pretty important.
Well, it's huge. I mean, even
remember,
last
Matt,
week,
it's something very important. It's that a flavor. It's a reminder of something that you tried before in your life. The more frequently you had a flavor, is the more it gets stuck in you subconscious and conscious. So when you cannot say it tastes like blueberries if you have never tried blueberries before.
Yeah.
And for example, Nicaragua, we have a lot different flavor profiles that here in the United States, or even here in the United States. I mean, if you go Texas or the middle of the United States, or east, west, or north, it's completely different flavor profiles.
mm-hmm.
So when somebody is smoking cigars, see, somebody can pick up one flavor compared to the other one. You
Right.
can pick some other flavor. That's one of the things I don't, when people tell me what it tastes like, I always struggles to give an answer, because it's like I can blow your experience if I tell you what it's gonna like. When I can tell you the strength profile and how do you balance it. And for everything else, I prefer you to make your decision in the aspect.
Yeah. And this, I want to talk a little bit about this cigar that Garrett and I are enjoying right now, the XO, because like you mentioned, you know, four out of the 5 tobaccos in this blend are 18-year-old tobaccos. So that means that before the cigar is even rolled, the cigars were harvested 18 years prior to the cigar even being rolled, which is, if you try to wrap your head around it, I mean, my oldest son is 18 years old. He just graduated from high school. So to think about tobaccos that where the priming was plucked off the plant the year that my son was born, it's kind of amazing to wrap your head around that. And that's also one of the reasons, obviously, that the XO is made in smaller batches, because it's not easy to, I'm sure it's not easy to source tobaccos that are 18 years old. Is that right?
Well, in the XO, it was something very unique in the experience. And I got a little bit inspired about, you know, how the blue label from Johnny Walker. I believe a blue label, I think is the black label. It used around 23 or 30 something different scotch. It's a blended scotch.
Yeah.
So the blue label, it's a blended scotch as well. So one of the problems they had in Johnny Walker, it's that every year they got the production, the barrels all in the warehouse, and master blender says, you know, this is how much we're gonna produce. He comes out and start trying the different ones until he gets the blending right, because he had to reblend every production. He had to reblend it back again. So and he got it right and said, okay, this is how many barrels of this one we're going to be using, and this is how many barrels of that one we're going to be using. This one, this one, this one, this one. So what happens after that production goes? There always leftover barrels in the back. So if you can imagine, after 20, 30 years of doing this, you have an entire warehouse completely or a small batch, or few barrels in which you cannot do anything with it because you cannot mass produce them. So when I heard the story, I'm like, wait a second. I work with one of the biggest and greatest tobacco growers in the world, in which is Plasencia. I have the problem as well. They have a very premium tobacco, in which has been stored, put in the bag, but the big company cannot mass produce it. But myself, as a boutique company, I can work with, see what you have. So they were very nice to let them open the door for me. I can go in and start seeing the different tobacco and get into the point in which we are working in that one aspect right now. Sorry, I have my oh, okay, great. All right, perfect. Look, come here. See, we're in the view. Everybody's watching us. All right, say hello.
I love that
It's
shirt.
Enrique Fernando,
Justice
the
League.
youngest one. Oh yes. All right, good side. So the idea of that for them is to find the tobacco and say, okay, this is what we have. That we cannot work out of this range because this is the only thing we have. Let's talk about quantities. That's even before it's done doing the blending. Because if you don't have the right quantity, I mean, you can always make a great masterpiece once. How can you reproduce it in time? To be able to do that, you have to add the 18, the 17, the 16, the 15, and the rope. So when this batch it works out, the other batch works in. So all those narrows your options of what or the raw materials you can use in that aspect. And now this is what we have. How can we make something great? And then comes the fun part. And that's when you start try error. And I'm not that much, like I said, I was not born in the tobacco industry. I don't have the decades and decades of experience in this field. So for me to be able to do this is time. So okay, make me this batch. This is the blend. Make me a batch. Make different prototypes. Put it in my humidor. Leave it there. 6 months after, here's me trying one, and then trying another one, and see how it goes in time. And then you get to a point that it's now we need something better in that aspect, and then you start blending in the process. And that's why, in my case, it takes a lot more time for me to blend something, because I like to take my time in that aspect.
Yeah.
We will be 10 years in the industry, so we come out with we're working in a new, of course, a new cigar, a new blend. And that's we have been working for a few years already. So that's part of my doing things, taking the time to actually do it. If people is going to take the time and the effort to come and look for one of my cigars, the last thing I can do is guaranteed that I did the tasting before them. And when I tell you it's ready, it is perfect as it should be.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. One of the things that I want to know, and this really goes to the point you just made, which is, that the fact that you have less experience, let's say, than a lot of other people, families who grew up in tobacco fields and generations before them. So when you first got into starting out Global Premium Cigars, and, I'm sure that you went, I would imagine that you learned about different cigar factories and different cigar people in the industry in Nicaragua. So what was the process like for you when you were selecting people to help you with the project, when you were selecting a factory to work on the project and people to help with the blends and things like that? What did that process look like for you?
Well, I mean, for me, it was just a fun experience in the beginning. I never thought myself doing this. And actually, when I had a meeting with Don Placencia, I had another business idea. So I'm there pitching the idea to him, and he's very calm, just listening to me. As like after like probably less than 20 minutes, he stops me and says, "Enrique, that business is not going to go anywhere." I'm like, "Why not?" I'm trying to persuade him and try to convince him. And he's like, "Enrique, don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. This is not going to go anywhere." And then he turns the table on me. So why don't make your own cigar? You like cigars. We got all the tobacco here that you can imagine. And we are here to help you out doing everything. And I'm like, but I don't know anything about, I know if I like a cigar or not, but I don't know anything about tobacco itself. And he's like, well, the good thing that you do come to me, and I do know that. So I think I can teach you. And if you have the patience, we can work together until you create something great. So I remember he put me in the room with the two master blenders. They had Ricardo and Ivan. Ivan is no longer with Placencia, but Ricardo is still there. I remember walking in and told the guys, hey, I've been smoking cigars in I don't know how many years already, but I don't know anything about tobacco. So start from scratch. Teach me after you would teach a 5-year-old kid. So, and they were so patient or show me the ropes, what it was, how the tobacco, how a cigar is combined, what part of the tobacco plant. And I remember just going to Seco Ligero of all the 4 regions. It's okay. Now you know what? That's even before even start blending or smoking. I mean, just seeing the texture, the smell, the aroma of each or the part of the leaf or each part of the region of Nicaragua, and then see the combustion. You put a matches and you down and see the ring, how far it goes. Really doing the other one, and then you start learning. Oh, it's not just putting tobacco together. No, each tobacco has completely different atmosphere, completely different characteristic. It's how we put them together that actually work. So all that is part of the. Oh, here it comes the instructor again. Okay, we keep Toledo. Okay, go inside because it's still in the middle. All right. So all that is part of the process. I think you know what it means to buy something stand for him. Miquito, después hablamos. Okay. Okay.
We can both relate. We both have kids.
Absolutely. No issues here at all.
Quarantine.
There's actually a really great.
So like I was saying, so all this process, it took a while. It took a lot. So when we get to the point of actually, and I told you, this is the concept we want. I want my breakfast cigar, I want my lunch cigar, and I want my dinner cigar. And they say, okay, what characteristics you want in your breakfast cigar, for example? That was something mild, but not that mild. It's something, it has to be, I was aiming for 3 or 4 out of scale of 10. And it's something I can enjoy with my cappuccino, with my coffee in the morning, right after breakfast. But very important for me, it has to have the complexity. It has to have a characteristic. It has to be rich in flavor. So that's when we start working in different products, different prototypes. So I was living in Nicaragua at that time, so it was easy for me to go back and forward from Managua to Estelí because we live in Managua, and learn and have the patience of waiting until we find the right blend for each of the line. And after that, of course, the marketing mode kicks in, and walking to United States with 2 luggage full cigars to do the marketing test. And they asked me in customs, do you get any cigarettes, any alcohol? I didn't lie. I said no, I do not, because I only have cigars here. So I did my marketing test, and everything went up to the chart, and then everything else followed after that one. But in the process, like I said from the beginning, it started with the concept, and it was really tough because I don't know exactly what to do. I had a good teacher, a good guidance, and to today I still work with them. But at the same time, I do feel that we got lucky in many aspects with the blend itself.
Yeah, well, and that's part of a lot of success stories is there's you work hard, you learn from people who really understand the materials that they're working with, and then you add in a little bit of luck, and that goes a long way, definitely. We've got a great question actually here from one of our viewers. I'm going to pull up on screen. And I think we're talking about the aged tobaccos. Aaron wants to know, aren't you losing flavors after that many years of aging? Is there a limit to where you get a diminishing return?
Well, Eric, it's all depends how that cigar is being aged. I mean, there in wine, in many other products, everything has its peak in life, and everything after that it goes down. Before that is not the best moment to do so. Tobacco is no different in the aspect. That's why you always have to be looking for that premium tobacco when it's out there. But the problem is in that process, in the time frame that you have, how the tobacco was stored. If you can have the tobacco here and slow age it, how do you do that? You apply less heat to it. Remember, the part of fermentation is about heat, and that's when you got to change in the this. But if you do that without applying less heat, you can I call that extend a little bit more of the part. So it's slow age in the process. Now, if you want to have a tobacco in which everybody else does it, in which it's normal, it's like 3, 4, 5 years the most. It's out in the market. And that's the regular time that they take, because what they do is they put it in the pails with all the cover with all the heat, and they start seeing the humidity and see the transfer. So it ferments a lot faster in that aspect. So it's a process. Now, when that part goes, how do you store those pilares, those how you call that, bales of tobacco is very important. How much humidity you're going to apply to that one versus how also you're going to be checking in that one. So if in those 18 years, if there's a mistake here, you will see it in the last part of enjoying the cigar. So you have to be very careful. The mathematics every day checking that it should be as it should be. So you can do that. Now there are some tobaccos in which they drop a lot faster than others. There's no doubt. One of the great examples I always put is Cubans. Habanos. After 10 years, you try them. Most likely there's nothing there. Or almost everything is gone. In Nicaragua in itself, it holds a little bit more in that aspect, and so that's a good thing to be working with Nicaraguan tobacco in that. So you can always work in the details, but every tobacco is you can age for 18 years old. No, you cannot. Not every tobacco it works for that long.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it really does go all the way back to from what I've learned, at least, like you said, it goes all the way back to the way the tobacco is handled from the very beginning, from the way it's planted, where it's planted, the way it's harvested, the way it's cured, the way it's fermented, and then the way it's stored. And if there are mistakes made along the way, that can definitely affect the lifespan of a leaf. And but fortunately, I mean, like you said, the Plasencia family are such experts when it comes to tobacco, and they know it in their, I mean, deep down, and they have learned over decades how to get the most out of the tobacco leaves that they grow and that they process.
Great question, Aaron.
Yeah, great question. So a little bit about, I want to know, and I want to give our viewers and listeners a little bit of an idea about, and I'm going to see if I pronounce the name of this cigar right. It's the Cachitos. Is that what it's called? The small, the little guy that comes in the 10 count bundles. Tell us a little bit about that cigar.
Well, Cachito is the only one. It's not under 1502 Cigars brand itself in the portfolio. It's a different brand.
Yeah.
So Cachito in Latin America, when you say, hey, dame un cachito, it's give me a little one. That's exactly what it means. Mm-hmm. So we want to create something that it's a great blend, but it's for those 30-40 minutes time you have to smoke a cigar. You know, if you only have that time, you want to get a Robusto, you want to get a Toro or a Churchill. Most likely you're gonna leave a lot of the cigar right there, and you know, I really hate that part. So I was working to make that something specific for that side. Now the beauty of that one is that in most of the factories, the reason they have the small cigars is normally it's what they use for the leftovers.
Okay.
Once they have finished all of everything out of the production, whatever is left, they can use it for small cigars, and you know, they can still stretch their raw materials to the market. So you know, they don't lose that much money. In this case, it was quite different. That's why we're paying a little bit more premium. There's no short filler; it's always long filler, and that blend is specific for that size as it is. So it's the only one. It's not making Plasencia. Actually, it's in Diamonds in Barrera Cigars now, and they are the one been working in that blend. Actually, was a that month we got 91 rated on the top 10 cigars in Cigar Journal, if I'm not mistaken, was Cachito. So we were very proud of that one. And the beauty is that it's Nicaraguan and Honduras tobacco in one. Was, like I said, in Nicaragua, Honduras was no borders.
Yeah. And it really is a nice, it's a nice little cigar. And you were kind enough a couple of years ago at the before the cigar actually released, you gave me one at the Nicaraguan Cigar Festival, and I sent you some thoughts about it after I got home back to the States and smoked that cigar. And it really is a nice short cigar. When, like you said, if you're limited on time, lots of flavor. Extremely good burn performance. So that's one I would recommend to people. Definitely. I mean, all the lines definitely I would recommend. But if you're looking for a short cigar, if you're limited on time, a bundle of those Cachitos is worth the investment. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about obviously with the lockdown and the quarantine and everything, most events are canceled, whether it's cigar events, the big trade show is canceled. Prior to the trade show announcing the cancellation, were you still planning on going to the trade show? And what are you doing, since there is no trade show, how are you working together with your retail partners and your consumers to continue to stay engaged with them?
Well, I mean, of course we were going to go to the trade show. We have been going to the trade show since 2009, if I'm not mistaken, or 11. I can't remember which was it. It was Orlando. It was IPCP Orlando,
Okay.
At that time, we always coming back. It's great time, not only to sales, but also to have all the industry under one roof, see all friends at the same time. So it's a great times, and especially in these times in which trying to run away from the house with all the kids. That's beautiful. Let's go. But since that cannot happen anymore, we have to find all the ways. I mean, we're always in touch with our top accounts. There's no doubt of accounts. We try to reach out to them, basically see how things are doing. How can we do to support? How can we do to help? I know a lot of shops, they're struggling like everybody else right now in this industry, and see how if we can put a little bit or a little grain in there to help. That's the best way we can do. Good thing is about social media. Social media has been a big difference from the beginning. Maybe that didn't help. It was not much different 10, 20 years ago. But right now, since I started through social media, I have able to reach out to many other friends, consumers, clients, not only in the United States, worldwide. And that's the beauty of it. So, like we're doing right now. I mean, since we cannot sit down and smoke cigars together, but you can be in Minnesota, we can be here in Miami, and we can be enjoying seeing each other and sharing our experience in that aspect. So, will the industry change? I believe it has changed for many years and will continue to be changing. I think not only the tobacco industry have changed, I think many other industries have changed. And will they come back to as well before? I don't think so. I think we have to be looking forward and to see how to evaluate and move forward and trying to get ahead of how can we do things. We're going to stop smoking cigars because of this? No, I don't think so. That's definitely a no. And when they do, we will be there to help them to have the best experience that we.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, I want to get an idea, because not just with quarantine and all that, but before all that, in the United States, which is the biggest consumers of premium cigars, or the most number is in the United States. And the FDA is trying to do what it's trying to do when it comes to, shutting down the premium cigar industry. So tell us a little bit about, coming from Nicaragua, and Nicaragua meaning as much as it does to you. Give our listeners and our viewers an idea of how much the premium cigar industry means to the people of Nicaragua, because there are so many people that gain their livelihood from the premium cigar industry. And give us an idea of what that means to the people in Nicaragua.
Well, just to give you an example, direct and indirect to tobacco in Nicaragua, there's easily 55,000 people living out of the industry, direct and indirect. Now, that is the main provider of the house, and each house in Nicaragua, it's from 5 to even sometimes even 10 people in the house. So you can multiply that by 5 or 10. So that's how much of the impact the society will have in Nicaragua. So, if, for example, here in the United States, I know there is a big issue with immigration. I expect people not to come over or find a way how to come over if they're not making a living, or their kids are dying in the country because there's no jobs or something else. So, able to keep the jobs here in Nicaragua, at least in this industry, what it will do, it's gonna stop part of the immigration products that you guys have here in the United States, and that definitely will help things over there to go down. I mean, there's no reason for people trying to find a way here if they're making a decent living over there, and that's for sure. So it does affect Nicaragua as it all completely, not only the people working directly in the aspect, but also in the economy as well. Remember, Nicaragua is very known for exporting raw materials. We're great doing sugarcane, meat, tobacco itself. But how many brands Nicaragua export as it is today? Of course, you got Caña, which in rum is one of the best rums in the world. And then, of course, you have the diversification, in which you see in all the magazines every year popping out, Nicaragua, which is all the different tobacco brands that you see out there. So now it's Nicaragua as itself. It's important to have a consumer end product is screaming the name Nicaragua out there. So all that, if that goes, it definitely is going to affect our country. There's no doubt.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
for the people that we talk to about the premium cigar industry and about FDA regulations, and each of us, as just individual premium cigar consumers, doing our part to get the word out about FDA overregulation and things like that, because it really does affect so many more people than just ourselves. It affects more people than just our local shop owners. It affects more people than just than we can even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Nicaragua and all the people who are have a roof over their heads because of the premium cigar industry. You look at Dominican Republic, look at Honduras. It's there's a lot of people affected by it, and we want people to keep that in their heads when they think about regulation and when they think about ways that we can each get involved and continue to spread the word and to make sure the government knows that we have no need for this overregulation of premium cigars. Definitely.
Well, I mean, the problem with this, Matt, is that throwing ourselves in the same pile of tobacco as it is. And of course, tobacco right now I say it has a bad taste in society as it is. Oh, tobacco. But they don't see the difference between how to use, how compare cigarettes versus a cigar. And which,
Right.
first of all, cigars that you never see a kid smoking a cigar. That's a youngest one. First of all, because they're not appealing to them. Second of all, because they can afford it. The other part is that before we used to go to buy a cigars, and we used to go to the bar to smoke anywhere else. Now we can't. So we limit all the places we can go. So, but in a way, that's good because it has unite us together. Because now you have to share the moment in the lounge as well. So you get to meet wonderful people. So that experience in my aspect has gone positive in that. But now it's trying to get the FDA or regulators to understand that this is not something that it's harmful as many other products they would like to put there as tobacco itself. And besides, when you tell me that you start regulating tobacco and you start legalizing marijuana, I'm like, wait a second, what are we doing here? This is the tomorrow's here. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, it's up to you. But don't regulate me and liberalize the other one. In which that's not where it should be.
Right.
And also in tobacco itself, I mean, it has been. How many people have you seen that actually cigars until they were 90, even 100 years? And they smoke every day cigars, and nothing bad happens. Cigarettes, on the other hand, for example, yeah, it's really high if you go to 50 or 60s. So that's a big. I always put an example. How many attempts to death on his life Fidel Castro had, it's in the Guinness record. I know it was 300 and something or 500 and something. The only thing that the CIA should have done is convince him to stop smoke cigars and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
It would have made their life a lot easier in the aspect. I mean, that guy, it was so the pressure he had. He lived what? It was 100, I guess, something around the time. And you tell me, well, I'm sure they're not the best product it is, but there are many others in which they are very conscious as well, like young soldiers.
Yeah. So one question we like to ask people, and it's a very tough question to answer because we know how much each one of your blends means to you and how much you love each one. But if you had to choose, if you were stuck on a desert island and could choose to only have, a stash of a few dozen boxes of one of the cigars from 1502, which one would you choose to have always with you?
5 years ago, I couldn't answer that one because I would have to choose between one of my kids who I like the most, and that's a tough one. But now I can answer that with no question. I go to 1502 XO anytime, anywhere. it's a masterpiece. If that would be the only cigar that I'll go for that one, no doubt. The problem with the XO is that it's really hard to find. People always go, oh, it's really hard to find. It's like, yeah, it's really hard to get it here in my house too. Don't think I have that. Oh, 52 XO starts here. Doesn't work like that. That's once it's limited, it's limited. Once it's gone, it's gone. I mean, I don't know how many demands in Europe, and I want the XO. It's like, can't. I wish I have a 2 million boxes to sell to you. The XO. I can't. I don't have it.
Well, and it's so in going off of the same analogy as the others, from as far as breakfast, lunch, and dinner goes, the XO, as much as it has a lot of richness to it and a lot of depth, this is still a cigar that you could easily smoke in the morning with espresso or coffee, and the flavor of the cigar will still come through. The flavor of the coffee or espresso will still come through. They'll balance each other out. This is not a cigar. I mean, as special as the XO is and as limited as it is, this is still a cigar that you could smoke any time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Either in the morning with coffee or in the afternoon if you want to have a scotch or rum later on. Perfect. It doesn't matter at what time you enjoy it.
And just an update from me on this cigar. I've really just been sitting back enjoying the cigar and the conversation. But like Matt said, the rich flavors in this thing are ridiculous. If you guys get a chance, look for this cigar. This XO is absolutely special, and it's worth the higher price point because construction wise, draw, flavors.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really good. I love it.
One of the reasons we call it a masterpiece, I was like, we were talking about that one in Nicaragua with music a few years ago. It's like a symphony. When it starts, it's for the first draw, you see a lot of the string, a lot of the power just like hit you, and you're like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy this one. But that melts right away, and little by little, the flavors start, and the complexity of the flavors start working their way, and the strength little by little underneath start working their way. So you have the curve. It drops here, and then little by little start unite into the point, and they all meet back again. And it's just about the second third. It's like a symphony. When you start with a symphony, and you slow down. Okay, violins a little bit. Now put this one. Now put this one, and you start arming together. You got up to the point that boom, there it goes the symphony, and that's the beauty of it. That's very very familiar in the XO, and which I never see it. I never experienced in any other cigar. That peak goes up, down, and starts shifting in the string. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. So let's move into shift gears and move into this week's Smokabulary. This, as always, brought to you by AJ Fernandez. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The day-to-day operations at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez are managed under the watchful eye of Mr. Fernandez himself in order to ensure superior quality. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of premium cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Lotano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. So, guys, this week's Smokabulary word is mold. And I don't want us to get off the rails because we've had this discussion a long time ago, and for this particular cigar vocabulary, Smokabulary word, we're not talking about mold, the fluffy stuff that grows on the outside of cigars that were not stored properly. We're talking about the wooden or plastic molds that the bunches are placed in and then put in presses. And so after the bunchero at the factory rolls the filler leaves into the binder leaves, those cigars are placed in these molds, and then the top part of the mold is put on it, and then a stack of those molds go into a press, and then every so often they're turned so that they reach that perfect shape. And then once they've been in the molds long enough, then they go to the roleros, who remove them from the molds and carefully and beautifully roll the wrapper leaf onto the cigar. Mm-hmm. So that is this week's vocabulary word. It is mold, and it's those beautiful wooden or plastic molds that those cigars get placed into in the factory.
And most cigars are molded, but not all cigars.
Not all cigars. There are a few cigars out there in the world that are not placed in molds, but the vast majority, I'd say 99% of premium hand-rolled cigars are placed in molds, just so that they get
conformed shape.
Yeah, they have to have a uniform shape and size so that they fit properly into the cellophane and the boxes. So that is this week's vocabulary word. Are we ready?
We are ready.
It is time for Numero de los Muertos.
All right, guys. This week, Numeros de los Muertos is brought to you by Oveja Negra Brands. They bring you premium smoking experiences forged from tobacco, time, and talent. Comprised of Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissonant, and Emilio. Oveja Negra Brands provide smokers uncompromising blends renowned for their flavor and lasting impression. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock. Visit ovejanegracigars.com to learn more. All right.
Okay.
This week's number is 1,503.
Well, that's an interesting number.
It is very specific.
So, Enrique, we didn't give you a heads up on this before the show started, but this segment we do every week, Garrett gives us a number like he just did, and you and I and our viewers,
52.
We get to guess what that number means. Almost. as far as there's it's how many people have died from this particular thing, and his number is 1503. So is it, and we have to choose. Was it parasailing? Was it coal mining? Was it, motorcycle riding? What was it that caused 1,503 people? Is this in the last year?
No.
Oh, so this is ever in history?
Well, this is we'll call it a historic event.
A historic event. So there was one historic event during which
it claimed the lives of 1,503 people.
Okay.
1,503 people. I mean, it should be 1502, but it's that's the. Maybe you got the numbers wrong.
Yeah.
Sure was,
we'll just drop. We'll knock one off. We'll knock one off the number, and we'll just say it's even 1502.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Okay. So now, can you give us an idea of when this historic event happened?
No.
That
would totally give it away. Come on, Chad.
Chad. Yeah, and those of you watching and listening. Well, not listening, sorry, after the fact. But those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, please feel free to put your guesses in the comments as well while we try to figure this one out. So some historic event caused 1,503 people to die.
Mm-hmm.
Did this historic event take place in North America?
Yes. No. No.
No.
In America.
Not.
Did this historic event take place in Asia?
We're not going to get anywhere.
That's very weird.
I'm
sorry, I got the interruption again.
That's okay.
I'm finishing my pizza.
There's a very tough to answer the question. Or... Okay, vaya adentro, mijito lindo. Yeah, he likes to. I was hoping he knows the answer, but I guess he away again.
So we shouldn't be asking.
Was 1503 in Asia?
So we shouldn't be asking continental because it really isn't.
It wasn't one specific location.
Well, it is,
Oh, it is. Okay.
but it doesn't belong to a certain continent where this took place.
It doesn't belong.
I have no idea whatsoever.
Okay, so if it didn't happen on a specific continent, did it happen on the water?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so on the water. So,
Can I search it?
yeah,
Yeah, go for it, man. We allow cheating.
yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely. So, okay, on the water.
I'm glad somebody does now.
Was this the result of water coming on land, or was it a result of people being on the water?
Yeah, not. Mm-mm.
Neither.
Well, I mean, eventually people were in the water, but it wasn't a result of like a tsunami or a hurricane.
It wasn't like a natural disaster.
No.
So they're in boat.
Where they must have been in boats.
Mhm.
You
could say that.
You could say that.
Chad the man.
Okay,
Oh
so
one of our viewers just guessed it. I'm going to put it up on screen here. The Titanic sinking. That's seriously what there were 1,503 people.
Yep. So 1,503 people died during the Titanic.
wow.
And
For total of people in the boat.
well, so there was 3,600 passengers and crew people total. So you know.
And some survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them made it in the lifeboats and survived.
Yep. And here's a couple interesting facts. So 97% of first class women were rescued. But through the three different classes of passengers, 74% of women were rescued.
Okay.
In general. So that whole, chivalry, women and children first really did happen on the Titanic. Just fun statistics. I was trying to look at something that kind of resembled our guest, 1502. I saw 1503 and I was like, that's pretty damn close.
That is pretty close. We'll take that.
I'll take that.
That's good. That's a good one. And Chad, I think that's the third time in the last couple of months that Chad has guessed.
Chad is on.
I know. Chad's got the answers.
So that is this week's Numero de los Muertos.
All right, Enrique. Now we have a lightning round of some fun non-cigar related questions. So, if you could choose to hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
If I get, sorry, it was cutting off.
So if I
get to listen to a living person,
yeah, if you could hear someone's thoughts for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
They have to be alive or they have to be dead?
Got to be a living person.
Nah, it's a tough one. Right now, you know, besides my wife, of course.
Oh, you would want to know that? You're brave. I wouldn't want to know.
No, you know what? I will go for right now. I'll go for what's the name of this? Oh my God, thinking about somebody in Nicaragua, but I know most of them. So, this writer, oh my God, slip my mind right now. I guess they block. Must be the quarantine.
Nicaraguan author, though there's a specific author that you would like to know?
No.
It's a writer.
No, it's how tell you right now. Yeah, it's Spanish. Actually, he won the Nobel Prize in literature in Spanish literature. I was like maybe 7 years ago. La Fiesta del Chivo. It's one his book. I'll tell you right now. Mario Vargas Joseph. Oh, Jesus. There you go. So
Okay.
that will be from Latin America. You don't know these guys.
So he won the Nobel Prize for literature for Spanish literature a few years ago.
Yeah, I think it was like 9 years ago that prize, literature.
Okay.
Cool.
So next question. If you were about to get into a fight, what would your soundtrack music be?
Oh, Eye of the Tiger.
There you
Yeah.
Yeah, that's classic. You can't go wrong with Eye of the Tiger.
The classic.
Yeah. All right. So choose one of the following. You could hit a home run as a starting pitcher. You could score a touchdown as a defensive lineman. You could score a goal in a hockey game as the goalie, or you could score a goal in a soccer game as the goalie.
I'll go for the soccer game. You know, it's my favorite sport to watch. I only watch it every 4 years, but I do enjoy it very much. If you can imagine, every time there's a goal, my house just jump.
Goal! Are you that guy?
Oh yeah, I am that guy. It's it's 1 month every 4 years in which I take vacation. I tell my kids, out, because I'm here watching the games.
Yeah. All right. So if you could give one piece of advice to a brand new premium cigar consumer, what would that piece of advice be?
Open mind. There are always great cigars out there. You will never know until you try them at least once. It's just that you try the cigar one, maybe it was not the best moment to try the cigar. Let's try, give it another chance and see how that goes. But always keep your mind open, because there's a beautiful great blends outside right now, and enjoy them. It's good to stay with the ones you enjoy very much, which you smoke every day. But always look for something new. Give it a try.
Yeah. Well, speaking of something new, we're going to talk about our notable smokable of the week. Each week, Enrique, Garrett, and I talk about a cigar we've smoked recently that was really interesting to us. It could be a cigar that's been on the market for 20 years, or it could be a cigar that's brand new to the market. Just something that we smoked in the last week that just stays in our mind. For me this week, and it was, it's a cigar that I've enjoyed since it first came out, but this was part of one of those things that we talk about where the experience sometimes can just really just heighten a cigar. And it was just one of these beautiful days this past week, and my wife and I sat by the fire outside, and I fired up a JSK Red Knight Robusto, which that's a lot of people disagree, but that's actually my favorite size in the JSK Red Knight. And my wife and I sat around the fire, and I smoked a JSK Robusto, and it's a cigar I've enjoyed, for a few years now, but that one just stood out to me this week. Definitely part of it was the experience, just being able to sit out in a beautiful evening around a fire, but JSK Red Knight Robusto was mine this week.
Mine was a Monte Cristo number 2.
Oh, Cuban.
Yeah. And this one in particular, it just hit. I mean, they're all number 2 is one of my favorite Cubans, but every once in a while, even with your favorite, you know, a lot like you were saying with the Red Knight, something you've enjoyed over the years, and wasn't anything special happening, but dang it, it just hit on all cylinders and was just yummy.
Well, and it's there. I mean, the little bit that we talk about Cuban cigars on the show, which isn't very often, but you know, Cuban cigars can be relatively inconsistent. But with that Monte Cristo number 2, when it's good, it's really good.
It is.
When that blend is properly made and all that, it's a great blend. So I echo that definitely.
Yeah.
So Enrique is obviously you smoke a lot
That's
of
a classic
1502.
one.
What's that?
That's a classic one.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, the number 2 it's definitely classic. Yeah. So Enrique, you're definitely smoking a lot of 1502 stuff, but you know, how often do you get a chance to smoke things outside of your own brands? And is there something recently that you enjoyed?
Well, I do enjoy cigars in general. I mean, does not have to be my cigars only. I do have a humidor with different all type of cigars. I like to look more in the boutique line. One always stick me right in the head is the AF2 for Emilio Cigars, in which the original blend was always amazing. That's always be one of the cigars I always keep in my humidor as well. So but there are so many great cigars out there. I mean, they're always whatever the chance, always looking for the new thing, which is great.
Yeah. So, guys, for our listeners and viewers, we want to give you an idea of some stuff we have coming up soon. Next week on June 30th, we're going to talk to Jared Trudeau from Christoph Cigars, and we have some other stuff in the works for the weeks following. So keep watching, keep listening. And Enrique, give our listeners and viewers one final idea. Where's the best place for them to get all the latest information about Global Premium and 1502 cigars?
Well, you can always go to a website, which is Global Premium Cigars, 1502cigars.com. It goes to the same website. And always, we're very active in social media. So everything, it's under 1502 Cigars or Global Premium Cigars. And you see what's new, what we're working on it, see in events that we will have, or later on, when all these questions goes, we will continue doing. So always keeping in contact in social media in general.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
And I want to just give another shout out to Omar at Ramsey Smoke Shop. If you guys don't have 1502 in your area and you're looking for a retailer to get some 1502s, I just put a link in our Facebook on this Facebook video. If you use the code HBTC, you'll get 10% off. So support a small business if you don't have anything in your area looking for an online retailer.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, Enrique, thank you so much. We really appreciate you giving us some insights into 1502 tonight on the show. We appreciate you sharing your passion with us, and best of luck to you and 1502 in the future. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Guys, appreciate it. Thank you for having me over. It has been a pleasure. You know, after all these things, all the entire world have changed. You know, it's really good to see a friendly face, at least from a screen. But very soon, we can continue living our life as it was before, or as close as it was before. So, and you guys always remember, relax and enjoy.
Amen. Amen to that. All right, guys, we appreciate it. As always, if you have any questions, go to the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. You can send us an email directly from there, and make sure to sign up for the email list while you're on the website. And until we see you next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Guys.